Quorum.
We do.
You go. Dave? No.
Right?
At 6:30, calling the meeting to order. I don't think we have any minutes to review.
No, we don't. Well, no.
Is anybody taking minutes? Or we'll do from recording?
Emily will do it from the recording.
Okay. So updated expense and revenue review.
I'll just start that, but, really, I went through the expenses again, like we did talk last time. I lowered fuel prices, propane prices a little bit. It did not make much of a difference. There really was not a lot more to take out of there. We went through, we had a few things change. I think a clerk one went up a little bit, but for the most part, we nickel and dimed a few more things out of there. So it kind of is what it is at this point, unless you guys see something that I'm not seeing. But with that, we went through revenues and put all the revenues in. We had not gone over those yet. So you can look through those. The big things were that the meals and rooms tax has gone up quite a bit. The state changed their formula.
That's good.
We did underestimate it a little bit on purpose still. I don't want to get to a point where we overestimate our revenues and get stuck, but there may be a couple of those. Me and Elisa was talking about it before we came down. If we need to just slowly kind of try to whittle this down a little more, I hope you guys give us the leeway to continue looking at expenses and looking at revenues and trying to drive that down just a little, but
No, you can't drive the revenue down.
no, the tax rate. That's what we're trying to drive down. But, you know, I think they're pretty close to where they're gonna be, but there's a few of them.
Yeah.
I think the meals and rooms tax is the biggest one. I think I left like a $50,000 gap and we may be able to, you know, squeeze another 20 out of that and still be comfortable or something if it makes a difference. So, really, that's the revenues, unless you guys want to go through them. I know clerk's revenues are down a little. I really just tried to look at 5-year averages and trends over the last couple of years to see if something needed to change. And I think we're pretty close on all of those. So
Do we think we're trending downward on the motor vehicle registration number?
it was down a little bit this year.
Do you think that's a trend? Or do you think yeah,
I don't think you can pull a trend out of 1 year,
no,
but
There were 2 new ones in the parking lot the other day.
you know, I would almost expect like boat revenues to start going down as we get out of COVID a little bit more, because they really spiked while we were there. They'll probably come back closer to normal numbers. Some of those type things.
Yeah.
Some of the car ones might have been because of that. We had a really big spike because everybody got their stimulus and went and bought new cars, and now those registrations are getting a little bit cheaper than they were brand new, but
Well, it's hard to find.
it's all
it.
estimation.
Well, the dealers are starting to get more cars though
Yeah.
on the lot. They're starting to get more new cars on the lot.
So,
with the
It was-
change in protocols, it may be something to watch carefully, because as we go to the different mailing system, the notification system, we won't be mailing out.
that won't change revenues, or it shouldn't.
It shouldn't, but
People
I'm just-
not registering their car. but-
Yeah, well, people may choose to do it by mail rather than march in. I don't know.
Different.
Shouldn't change it.
Some cars
Shouldn't.
are about to get
No.
fined. I don't know if they still, I go to GoPony, and for months, they did not have a new CRV.
No,
And I don't know if they have one yet.
yeah, they've got,
They haven't,
they're starting to roll into the dealerships, because I was over to Irwin. And Irwin says he's starting to get vehicles, and there's a lot more in the pipeline now.
who's Irwin? In LA?
They've, in Laconia, they've got like 5 or 6 dealerships.
And I would
The big
expect,
chip thing is the problem right now.
and I would expect new cars to tail off
Right.
with interest rates going up.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
So we'll just
Well,
continue to
the
watch
only low
those.
interest rates are on the ones that are hard to sell.
no,
I mean, it's a big number, but I don't think it's changing by a lot, and so we'll continue to watch those.
So,
We encouraged a lot of,
We're actually 74,000 down on meals and rooms, so there may be a little bit of wiggle room there. We can play with
The
it.
239, the 239,000 number is 74,000 down. Is that it?
Which one?
239,000
Meals and rooms.
meals and rooms?
No, it was 394, 270 this
Okay.
year, and I budgeted 320.
Yeah.
So I went up almost 100,000, 90, well, 89,000, 81,000. But we may be able to push that up a little bit more because they did completely change the formula. So unless the legislature walks away from the formula they just set, which I don't think they'll do this quick, we should be in that ballpark. And it's based on the amount of meals and rooms tax that the state collects.
State
And we
will.
get a higher percentage,
Yeah.
so.
besides the meals and rooms, for what else is a major state source? Because I see the other
Block
sheets,
grant.
there's a,
The highway
Oh,
block grant
highway
below
block
it.
grant. okay,
yeah.
where's that?
Right below it, the number right below it.
Okay,
3353.
because it says here on the other summary sheet 547. So I'm trying to find the other 150,000.
From the state.
Oh, it's the highway block grant. Okay, good.
Right.
Okay, now it makes, okay, never mind, I got it.
And the only other thing is in the expense side, back to that, is
yeah,
we did increase the compensation to 8% and the stuff that needed to go with that, so that was the change there.
Now, our next meeting is, centered on the discussion of that particular topic. Am I correct?
Which one?
The cost of living allowance across the board.
You guys did that last meeting.
we did that.
No, I meant more for the public explanation.
That's
According to the calendar, it's more of a public meeting for those people that want to discuss that topic in particular.
Public meeting in February. You guys do have one more meeting scheduled this month. If you have it, if you wanna prepare for the public hearing.
Well, but is that not the meeting with the select board?
No, there's one on January 31st, and then you meet with the select board in
Okay,
February.
alright.
What I thought was the next meeting, Dimitri had said that a little guidance from us on his presentation, what it should
Right,
include.
what we want
I
to
think
talk
that's
about,
maybe
what we
Okay.
what-
think the questions are gonna be from the three
I
people.
was hoping to cover that today.
Well,
Yeah,
If we have time, we can
Well,
definitely cover that.
I just want us to be prepared
Right.
for any pushback on the
Yep.
8%
Yep.
cost of living allowance.
so I think
Yeah, and we can
working on
talk
the
about that if we have
presentation.
time today, if not.
Right.
We have.
It'd be actually nice to,
He's got his charts.
because it'd be nice to cover what you think we should have in the presentation today.
Yeah.
Then I can take a stab at it
and then
over
we
the
can
next
edit.
2 weeks, and then we can kind of do a dry run through the slides and see what people want to change in 2 weeks, and then that is it. So I'm
Because
good.
it's important to get in front of
There
that.
did,
Exactly.
there did
That's
not
something I
seem
want
to
to be
be
prepared
a
to.
pushback from the
defend.
select board
No,
on the 8% Monday night, Tuesday night.
no, the
Okay.
select board. seems
Pretty
in
much.
support of it.
Yeah,
So by consensus, it's your opinion. We know John expressed an opinion while he was here at our last meeting.
Well, and
We
he
think-
expressed an opinion at the select.
at the
board
select
meeting.
board meeting.
He did on Monday. Okay.
And- Yeah, and Kate understands where it's
Right.
at and why.
Okay.
Eric didn't seem opposed. They
No.
didn't say anything, I don't think.
He
but I
didn't,
think-
but he was, yeah.
And John made a pretty big point that it was a unanimous decision.
Okay,
So,
great.
In presenting it, I think there are two things. One is the comparison to the surrounding towns and trying to keep up with
Right.
other folks.
Yep.
And,
Well, I'm sorry, losing two policemen to Cannon just won't sit well for me.
that's right,
Right.
It's
absolutely.
two now?
It's
Yeah.
two.
Really?
Two.
I thought it was one.
No, it's two.
So,
We have hired a new man. I have it correct?
No,
No,
well,
We have one that came on the end of
Right.
last year,
that was,
December.
the
he
one,
was being hired prior to the two vacancies.
Yeah,
So we
okay.
have
He
two
filled that one.
vacancies.
So are we still down two men?
Yes.
So do you know?
Oh, we have a prospect.
The other thing to
No,
We
bring
don't
up
have a
is,
prospect.
the certified said no.
Oh, there was
We
a
have-
certified gentleman, but he
Yeah.
backed.
Excuse me, just, if people can't talk over each other, please, because the minute taker is gonna have to do this from the recording.
I was talking,
We have posted, we have 4 applicants so far for the 2 positions that we'll be testing.
well, the other thing that I was gonna say is that we need to remind people how much it costs to bring someone on.
Right. We'll do that.
Yes,
That's just,
I've heard various numbers upwards of $70,000. And of course, there is a multi-month training program at which we would put the person on payroll.
right, that's an important point that we need to make in this presentation.
but it isn't just police.
No,
It's all
it's across,
employees.
the-
We don't,
look
there's
at it,
always a loss of knowledge when you lose an
Oh,
employee and,
yeah.
and skill.
and skill.
Do we
absolutely.
know what the difference is in the rate? Because we'll surely be asked that, I bet,
It's in
We have,
between Canaan and Enfield.
we have numbers.
In the police. rates, we
chief
can
had
give you
mentioned a
exact
number.
rates.
That would be
At the
good, because I
last
bet
meeting.
we'll get asked that.
Mhm.
And, was it because of, relationship with the new chief over there or money? Do we know that?
Who's the new chief?
I think it's,
I think it's a little bit of both.
I think it's
Right.
come aboard.
Yeah.
I mean, there's multiple issues usually when someone leaves, why they make that decision, but
My understanding was that
Definitely.
because it was an adjacent department and therefore our guys would not be commuting any further than they presently are. It became more of a money issue to be able to just go to an adjacent town, more money.
it depends. There's
It was an easy
relationship
move.
things and, you know, they all work, all the police work together, so they know each other. So, I mean, who knows the full scale of that? I believe, didn't Amanda get a promotion too?
She did.
Different position, so that comes into play. There's many things that do, but the things that we can look at are when they left, they got an increase in pay as well. So,
Right.
you know, it's a little bit more internal issues and things we need to figure out. If people are leaving and getting cuts in pay to leave, then there's something, you know, not that we don't look inside anyway and make sure that we're not doing what we can, but we know police is probably the primary one right now. DPW is another one, but they're almost headhunting people and offering a little bit more money almost anywhere. There's a lot of towns that have $10,000 sign-on bonuses and things to bring police officers over because there's such a shortage of police officers. Qualified, certified police officers, especially.
We're such a good town.
We are.
Are the benefits pretty much comparable from one department to the other?
Yeah, it's really hard to compare benefits because they get so complicated fast, especially medical benefits. You can look at the 80/20 copay, but then, I mean, you really have to do a deep dive to know what prescription copays and all those things are in there that you don't know benefit to benefit. But a lot of times that comes down to money, especially on the, I don't want to use the word younger, but the less senior officers that are on the bottom end of your pay scale. A lot of the younger officers, I mean, money out is money out, and that's what they're really looking at. What do they need to pay the bills at home? And, you know, the benefits get a lot, not that they're not important when they're smaller, but they get more important to those people as they get older and realize the benefit of those.
However, I think there's a lot of movement around benefits sometimes because it may not be cash in your paycheck, but your out goes less perhaps. And maybe your days off or those things that, a little bit of a measurable, but,
I think
I-
days off were fine,
okay.
those types of things. I think it would really come down to medical
Medical,
benefit,
yeah.
dental benefits. And
But you don't get taxed on your benefits, you
No,
know,
but,
tax wise, so
The
if we're
check's the
better.
check.
yeah, the younger people, it's how much goes in my bank.
Right,
They're
right.
not worried about outflow and they're not worried
Yeah.
about
Right,
write-off.
yeah.
It's how much am I making per hour?
They don't care what the drug deductible is.
No.
They're not taking any.
All right, shall we move on?
Yeah.
Anything else on revenue?
Not really, unless you guys have questions.
Nope.
I don't have enough thought.
We're doing a CIP plan first.
Yep, sure, we could do the CIP plan first. We've got the CIP request here. There's also another sheet that shows the debt service. If you look at it, the only one in 2023 that's in the finance column is the sidewalk improvement. And that's only because I believe it was because it was approved 2 years ago
Right.
that the funding's already there. I think it was a part of a package. Per se, yeah,
So has that already been funded, if you will, or is that yet to be funded? From a finance point, from a debt perspective?
We have the authority to spend, but no loan has been taken out.
okay.
Okay. And am I misremembering it, that I thought it was 30,000?
It's for it.
It was 40 that was passed 2 years ago?
But
Backstop?
it's gonna be one of those years where the CIP doesn't even look like the CIP because we've taken, you'll see the green column there. That's the ARPA funds. The ARPA funds are being used by CIP because CIP is going to be used to purchase the property for public safety. Because originally when it was approved, we thought you could use ARPA funds to do that, but you can't. So the select board and said, the CIP fund will get the ARPA money. And then the CIP money will be used for
By the
any
third-
purchase price on the public works building. The other one you see there is the backhoe replacement. I'm sorry, the chipper replacement, the chipper that got blown up there. We got 47,000 back from the insurance company, so there's 17,000 because the new one's 67. That 17,000 is gonna come out of CIP.
Oh, fund balance.
We've already spent most of that.
Right,
It's coming out of CIP.
it's coming out of CIP,
Through CIP, but it's fund balance money, isn't it?
No,
no, CIP money,
It's CIP money.
right, yeah, CIP money. As you can see, we're gonna try to go cash only this year. We're not gonna finance because of the increase.
Well, that's my
The other
question
thing
on the
is-
40,000, whether it should shift over to straight CIP money, not finance money.
Well,
It's
I think-
technically finance money and then it would come out of CIP later as debt service items.
right,
I just wanted to be able to have a year where our
Well, we're
function
not
this year
gonna
was
have a-
not to try to
right.
finance anything. And
Yeah, but I think since it's already been voted
It's been
to be
approved
financed. you
as
have to have it
finance.
Approved.
it's not gonna have a warrant article for the 40,000 because it's already been approved. The only warrant article we're gonna have this year is the nickel plus what last year's
Plus-
amount was.
plus the normal CIP vote.
Right,
Yeah,
that's the only,
yes.
that's the
That's the
only
nickel.
warrant article there's going to be, is funding the CIP. The other reason why we wanna keep building up that number is because if you look at some of the out years, we got bridges that are gonna have to be approved, and we're probably gonna have to finance some of them, but The other one, if you look way out, the 800, there's an 800,000, I think, no, a $600,000 that we've got in there. We may not spend that. It's based on getting the FEMA grant. It's the beige colored 600,000 in 2021.
Data road.
Potato Road. We wouldn't do that project unless we got FEMA money for it. It's important, but it's not that important that we would spend 600,000, I think, on a Potato Road. So what we're really looking to do is just, we have not brought this to the select board yet. We brought it to you guys first so that you can, because the 400, I think it's gonna be 474,000 this year that we're putting in. Maybe,
That's from the ARPA funds.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's higher than that.
Yeah,
Find it.
right. But that'll be the only thing that's on the warrant article. So,
How much is that compared to last year?
well, the nickels, what's the nickel gonna be this year? 27,000 probably?
So in 2022, CIP reserve fund appropriations, 500,768.
Yeah.
And for 2023, it's slated to be 526,968.
What is the current balance?
On 1 point.
That's in one of your other sheets.
Yeah.
So it's unaudited, but everybody wants to. It's this one. It's that one, yes.
1.8,
1.61.
1.658 now, and
Right.
it's projected to be 1.8.
807 next year. And the other good thing about us not financing is that debt service will go down year by year as we pay off the old ones. Right now, I think we're down to, we don't have any more cruisers. Yeah, we do. We got cruisers, truck capital lease of 199,000.
We're stating a different number.
We got a couple of small cruisers
Yes, sir.
there. Yeah, and so in a couple of years out, we'll be getting rid of some. Jones Hill's getting near the end too, I think.
1 year left.
Yeah,
It's bigger next year.
if we can get that down, that gives us more ability to pay for stuff with cash.
Yep.
If the debt service piece gets smaller and smaller.
And I
Which was
did, I
the
stated
original
the
one.
tip number, so it's 1.616888.
Yeah, yeah. And just throwing it out there, we're gonna be looking for CIP people next year. We're down 2 now.
How many do you usually have?
We've tried to have 7. We're down to 5.
We did this year with 5.
We did this year with 5.
How many, meetings do you have usually? Once a month or? not
We,
that?
we normally don't start until middle of September. And we try to go every 2 weeks, but we normally, the first 3 meetings we go every 2 weeks, but then we took a month in between, so there's maybe 7 or 8 meetings total. And depending on the makeup, we could be down more. Who knows?
Any questions on CIP?
I will say, I mean, this is the exact scenario that you've been saving for.
That's right.
You know, the financing side, things are there, we now have the cash to buy it and not spend that. And then it's also good with the 2 buildings coming online, if we can retire some of that debt for the next few years without adding a lot more. So that'll help ease that a little bit.
was gonna talk about debt service? Was that you two or not? Is that on the thing? I don't see it.
It's not really something to talk about, it's sort
Okay.
of supportive of the CIP, so it tells you what we have for existing debt service,
Okay,
what will be covered by CIP funds.
got it.
But it also gives you information to be
Right.
the second, other purposes as well.
The water sewer, will
So,
that be the? You know, we'll charge the extra fee right now for the water and sewer. Will that, be done next year?
You know, we have a long time.
Full 5 years.
What extra fee?
The, deficit reduction for the sewer.
Yeah,
Originally, I think it was supposed to, they were talking 5 years, but we need to be in the positive or a little bit into the positive. Probably reaching our goal, I would assume.
Yeah, we haven't finished that, or we talked about it today, but we're right at that threshold, so
Going from
once we
negative.
pass that, I was thinking of a different.
okay, yeah, I figured you were.
I think the end of
To be that bad.
2020, at the end of this year, we should be, fingers crossed, in the positive. I think that's what it's on one of these sheets.
so our total debt payments is about $1 million. I'm understanding that right? Principal and interest across all the loans, 955.
That's true. However, everything in the capital projects fund is funded by betterment fees. Because
Okay,
that's coming from sewer, so that's not
Got it.
taxation at all.
okay, got it.
And I think that's a good point too, but you know, the water sewer will be coming out of the water sewer fund, not
Yes.
taxes.
Right, good.
Yeah, total debt, so.
So the only ones that are coming directly from taxes are in red. Everything else is CIP, well, village taxes, it's just a different route.
Wait, say that again?
So the ones that are in red
Okay.
in the first column, those are directly from taxes. There are a number of others that are coming from the CIP fund, which is taxes.
Right.
Slightly different route.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. Huh. All right. Any questions?
No, just as a guideline though for CIP for 2024, I think the approach will be the same. That we'll want to go with minimal financing and keep that spending within the amounts that are basically available. Because we won't see nationally, we won't see interest rates drop for another 12 to 16 months, and then they're predicted to start to come down again, but certainly not in 2023 or until at least 2024.
You're gonna see another up in the next month, so
So,
at least 25 to 50 basis points.
So the plan is essentially for next year to keep the spending to the amount we're adding, to keep the balance the same,
If at all
focus on
possible.
cash.
Yeah.
if at all possible, exactly.
Focus on cash, don't
Okay.
finance.
Exactly,
Smart plan.
as much as possible.
Okay. Budget review.
Probably the best place to start on that is the little
Budget summary table.
budget summary that you have. We can look over that, but I think the big numbers are on the back, is where we're sitting. If we look down those last two columns below the blue highlighted, you know, in the blue block there is the amount of money that we need to raise. Just kind of down and to the left of that, the 593, 941, 222 is our valuation that's used to set our tax rate this year. So that's no change from this year's. Would show, you move across with debt service as that first column. So what our total looks like is a 15.3% increase, taking the tax rate from $7.47 to $8.61. The next column, I think, is really important when you guys are talking about the budget for this year. It's, and I think the big number is at 4.69%. We don't need to dwell on what the tax rate would be without that, but you know, the budget you're proposing is a 4.69% increase in the general fund budget.
And I think,
The 15.3 number adds that public safety building payment of $470,000 on it.
I think the way we'll actually present it is, we'll have another column on here and show the 8.61, then one column that says increase as a result of public safety building, this dollar amount, to kind of break it out, because mentally you can do it like, oh, the difference is the public safety building. But if we have a column on there showing it, people will more readily realize the big increase as a result of that.
Well, and I did break that out for cost per 100,000.
Yep.
Right. So this 4.69%, the general fund increase is $35 per 100,000.
Yep.
When you add the public safety building on top of that, the 8.61%, it's $114 per 100,000.
You have that in the sheet that we don't have?
I scribbled it in my ink pen, because I knew it would be an important number to have you.
So we'll include that in the slides.
Yeah.
So essentially with inflation in the 7 to 8% range, increasing the budget to 4.7% is not bad. And that's without considering, are we expecting the property tax valuation to change?
On average, I did this number too.
Yeah,
On average, if we take, we had one, actually I have them here. We had 1 year, 2019, that went up 7.66%. I'm guessing that was a revaluation year. So taking that out of the equation from 2016 to 2022, we averaged right about 1%, just under 1%. So if you look down to the bottom blocks that Lisa prepared for you there, that would show a total increase of 14.16% or 3.66% on the general fund budget.
So,
If we went 1% in valuation.
which is what we would expect based on the average of the past several years.
Yeah, I would guess we'd be somewhere around the 3.75, somewhere in there.
And we normally don't include that in the presentation, but I think including it doesn't hurt.
I don't think you want to base anything on it, because
right.
sometimes they go down. Ours hasn't for a while, and I don't expect it to with the way the market's been. But, you know, we did have a couple years that were at 0.6 and 0.5, which would be the next column up if you looked at that.
Okay.
So,
Depends on what they're reassessing that year. When they reassess the lake properties, it has a higher number than
I can talk to Norm, no.
than the normal ones.
Well, it didn't for a long time, and then they caught up.
That's right.
Well, the next time they do, it's not gonna be pretty.
It's not gonna be pretty at all.
Well, the next townwide evaluation is 2025.
The ones that are
They
on-
still do a quarterly, they still do a quarter every year, don't they?
No,
You do a portion of the town
Yeah.
every year,
every year.
but there's a full revow every 5 years.
Right.
You did it in 2019.
So it'll be
So
20.
2024 would be the townwide readout.
Which is actually good.
Yeah,
We don't have a lot of commercial, we do have some, but this is
Right.
exactly what happened to Lebanon, is they had to do it last year. And
Oh, yeah.
housing properties went
Right.
sky high,
right,
and commercial stayed the same.
yeah,
So it shifted the burden
everything.
to the residents.
Right,
So
It's in
If you-
2007.
Yeah.
I remember that year.
If you talk to the residents of Lebanon, they're not happy right now
No.
because they're getting humongous tax increases, and that's why.
Yeah, and the same thing happened in Hanover, except the commercial went down and all the house went up.
Hmm.
Wow.
So commercial properties have not kept up with
No.
residential properties through this. So if we wait another year or so, things will balance a little bit
Right.
more. So we're sitting in a pretty good spot, I think, on a reval. It's,
Say you were reval this year because you're in the 5-year thing. Will you get that big one next year too?
Yes.
well, it
Well,
shifts and
it'll
it's new.
adjust.
You don't, it doesn't just go there and then come back. It's
Right.
what the properties are actually worth now. You know, so when lake properties around Mascoma are selling for $1.5 million.
2.5, it's on the market for.
Well,
There's one
what
too,
Well,
but
sold.
yeah.
This.
they just sold a 1.3 acre property with no structures on it.
1.5.
I know.
Oh, yeah. Around the lake, the property's worth a lot more.
So it's, yeah, we'll see what happens. in
Can we
the
make
long
another lake?
run. Yeah, a couple more lakes.
We're lucky we had that. That's why we need to take care of them.
Let's build a bigger dam at George Pond and let it flood a little bit.
If you remove those lakes, it would be.
A bigger dam bridge over there.
Tell Tim up the dam.
So that's really where we're sitting right now. Like I said, we went through expenses and I don't know that there's much more to cut. And with us using fund balance to fund those extra projects,
Yeah, let's not push it
there's none of
forward.
those really.
Yeah.
Cut, you know. I think you're at a pretty good spot on compensation with what's happening around us with what everybody else is doing. I've heard through the police chief that Grantham's getting an 8%, so they're right in that range. I know Weathersfield's looking at an 8%, at least in their highway department. I just talked to the highway supervisor. That's what's proposed right now. Gaining 7.2, we're right in that ballpark. I did get a big list. They just did a statewide push. And it looks like statewide, people are coming in that 6.5 to 7 range is the average. So we're not very far off.
Gotta do it this year because when the public building comes online in your tax bill, they're not gonna wanna see a big raise. So that's now.
And that's the reason for doing an across the board, compensation evaluation. So that we can feel we're in solid ground for the value of employees. Also give them an opportunity to advance because there'll be step raises that they can go for based on certain achievement. But one of the things that I think I wrote a couple of notes down that reinforce the 8%. And that, for example, rents are up 8.3%. Groceries are up 11.3%. Mortgage interest up 104%. And credit card interest is up 31%. Well, those are 4 basic categories that almost everybody gets hit with. Unlike the nationwide across the board inflation rate, people get hit with those things. And that's one of the reasons also to support the 8%.
Can I have that?
But those are the 4 bread and butter categories.
What are they?
Take a picture of it. with your
Well,
phone.
rent, 8.3%. Groceries are up 11.3%. Mortgage interest is up 104%. And credit card interest is up 31%. And those are unlike when you can go across the board and you can say, well, inflation's only, 6.5 and it's going down a tenth or 0.2, whatever. But these are the ones that hit people where it counts. These are the monthly bills.
And the COLA that we had for the
Get
region,
energy.
sorry,
Don't,
the COLA we had for the region was what, 8.7 or was it? What was it?
No, I think it was really close to 7. I don't have it right in front of me, but I can look it up.
8.7 was the social security.
That's social security.
Yeah.
Gathering numbers for the presentation.
I was kind of waiting. I don't know if they're out yet, but the December numbers for. But the December numbers should be out soon.
Yeah.
And we can use those. The last ones we were working off of the September, and things have gone up still since then.
So I'll thank you.
We can look at
I
that.
would think home sales should be going down with the increase in rates. And the price of,
Yep, some big cities, I saw articles how the prices of homes in some big cities is plummeting because of the increased mortgage rates.
That's what they're trying to
Nationwide,
do.
yeah,
real estate sales are down because of the increase in mortgage rates, and they'll go up another quarter of a point after the Fed meets again.
so the value of your house is going down at the same time too.
Yep. Welcome to the roller coaster.
When we moved to Virginia, we paid 12% interest.
Drive it down before that read.
12%. I just howl. I'm saying that when we moved to Virginia in 1980, we paid 12%.
It has been.
Oh, yeah?
What,
Yeah.
for your
Yeah.
first mortgage? Yeah, ours was 12%.
Oh,
And
yeah,
we were thrilled when we were able to refinance for 9.
right,
But of course, CDs were making 14 and
14 and
15%
15.
too.
right.
We had money in CDs in those days, not me.
I remember making money when I was a kid on my savings account.
Mhm.
Now it's
Right.
not even worth
Right.
having one.
Yeah.
Anything else to discuss other than what we want to see in the presentation?
So the 12 months for November was 7.1%.
So my plan was to essentially update what we had last year. Now, I was going to look at what we had last year, but I was so busy, I didn't have time.
They do have this number too. Annual average 2021 to 2022 was 8%. Oh, that was US. Northeast region was 7%.
Anything specific people want to cover that is normally not in the presentation? You know, I'll have a lot of numbers.
Graphs.
Well,
Yeah,
I think the
graphs.
information.
Graphs, your
from other
graphs are
towns.
wonderful.
Right, graphs,
Well, graphs is easier for
right, visual.
somebody that's not a numbers person
Yeah,
to,
no, graphs are nice for people to see.
kind of helps guide.
We'll make it visual and try to not overload people on numbers.
And then the other thing, we just talked about it last time, so I wanted to bring it forward to you, but, right now, and things can still change a little bit, but, they can change lower. This is almost worst case scenario that, we projected both projects to be about 110,000 or $110 per 100,000.
Okay.
At 3% interest if nothing changed in the world. And we ended up, it looks like it's gonna be 134 total. So little,
A little
130,
more.
a little bit more,
20
134
20%.
per 100,000 with both of them.
You're saying with
I'm
both
confused.
combined, not each.
Yeah, at town meeting last year, we presented that it would.
Right.
Again, I really had my disclaimer in there that at 3% interest, because we knew that was going up. And everything that we were looking at, with both projects passing, it was $110,000, $110 per 100,000 added It looks like after interest rates change and everything locked down, it's gonna be $134
And how many years each one?
for 30 years. There's some changes in there. I set up the financing for the first one, so we're paying more now with the hopes that in a couple years, when it's done and we settle the loan, we have a little bit lower payment. So I do think it'll come down a little bit, but that's where we locked in. If we just paid everything as locked in, that's why we're. So a little bit higher.
No balloon payments or anything on those loans, no,
The only thing we have is 20 years down the road,
a refi,
one-time adjustment based
Okay.
on where the treasury's at.
okay,
What I have talked to Mascoma Savings Bank about is anytime between now and 20 years from now, we could refinance those. So if the
Okay.
interest rates come
Good.
down, we can
okay,
refinance and lock. So somewhere around 10 years, we may be able to lock in a 20-year. And
Okay,
not have.
for the
any
last
adjustment.
20.
Yeah,
right, good,
so.
I think those are important points to maybe have in a slide if the questions are
Yeah.
such that you
Yeah.
refer to, but not in your regular
Yeah, we should
presentation.
talk about those buildings and what
Yes.
we've done, and
Yeah.
that's important. Whether it's part of the budget conversation or just part of town meeting, that needs to be
I
talked.
think giving folks a plan, a calendar, if you will, as to when will we break ground, for example, on the emergency services building?
Yeah.
What's the,
We may or may not know that by then.
well,
Oh, no.
but broadly, seasonally.
Yeah.
We can say, okay, it's,
We're hoping for this year.
right, you know,
you probably have to do it during the budget piece,
So,
because if you can't do it, wait till the end and do it, because nobody will be there.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll find where
Yeah.
it makes sense to get it.
Yeah,
the budget for next year does not include the full 134, right? Because only one of the two loans
Only one of the two
Right.
loans is in there.
is in there.
It is actually a $79 increase
71?
Okay.
of the 114.
And I think emphasizing that you're really working the loan system to Enfield's advantage and to control costs. I think people wonder,
Mhm.
and.
Is there a CIP presentation too?
Hmm?
Is there?
there's not usually a CFP presentation,
yeah.
other than a broad number,
Well, just on the warrant article,
yeah.
Are
there
you
won't be
covering,
one for financing.
are you covering that or not?
And well, we can work together if we need
So
to.
we'll work together, but I'll make that presentation again.
Because I think it'd be good to highlight, hey, we've been
We've
been financing, but now we're not.
We're not
because-
financing anymore, and I don't know if that comes after the budget, I think, on the warrant.
Usually
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah, okay,
And I know that water sewer is not out of the general taxes, but the fact that you got the grants that reduce the cost by that higher percentage, I still think that should
Yeah,
be part of the
it's-
presentation,
I
because it's
agree.
part of the philosophy you're approaching all your other
Mhm.
things
Yeah.
with.
Right.
And. you
And not
want them
everybody
to-
knows that.
And not
Right.
everybody does,
Some
Yeah.
people don't actually realize that.
right,
Right,
They don't realize that they don't pay for it.
right,
I've had a discussion with a neighbor, you don't actually pay for it because you're not on the water and sewer system. And then, two, that, by the way, half of it, we actually got grants for.
right,
yeah.
And so some people think they're paying for the full thing.
Yeah, because
Or
there's
they're not.
Yeah.
so many that talk about the cost of that in addition to the buildings.
Right.
So it's good to let them know.
And remind them. Anything else?
I make a motion, we adjourn. Did you look at me for that?
I second. Oh, public comment.
Any public?
Oh, Kate, are you considered public?
She's out of the
No.
CIP committee.
I'm on
She shakes her
CIP.
head and
She's CIP.
she shakes her head, I'm not public, so you can't comment, you're not allowed to comment.
Okay.
I was real quiet.
Yes,
You were.
Is recorder
I
off?
think people wanna hide from the snow that is
You
incoming.
can see how many people are.
I'm
voting.
frozen. I just came from Wheelback. I have a blanket.
There's non-debatable on the floor.
Meeting adjourned. So I'm gonna work on a present, I'm gonna work to
Okay.
draft the presentation for next week.